This is level J, list 2, and we're doing day 1. And we're looking at the OR sound. We're using an AR for the OR sound in these words. We've got war, warm, wart, warp, worn. And we're looking at the E making the previous vowel long, and it's an O. So we've got cove, stone, stole, stove, spoke. So you're going to need 2 highlighters for this one. Let's colour in the AR in these words, one colour. So remember, the AR in these words is after a W or a WH. We can use an AR for the OR sound, is the rule. Down the bottom here we've got this E making the previous O make its long sound, and there's a consonant between them. The other thing that you should notice here too is that after a long vowel sound we use one L, and after a long vowel sound we use a K, not a CK in there. So we've already learned that in was and what, that we can use an A for the OT sound after a W or a WH. So now we're just adding to that, so we've got the A with an R and it's making an OR sound. There are about 9 different OR sounds you're going to have to learn, and this is just another one of them. So let's have a look at what these words mean. I might just highlight before we move on that W at the start. So you do remember that it's after a W or a WH. So an example of a WH word would be wharf, where we have the WH. There's not a lot of words where we have a WH before the AR for the OR sound. Okay, so what is a war? War is where you have different countries fighting each other over something. Warm is where you're keeping your body warm, where you might have a nice warm hot chocolate. It's not hot and it's not cold, it's warm, it's in between. A wart is a growth that you may have on your foot or somewhere on your leg or somewhere on your fingers. It goes away over time. Warp is when something is bent, or we can talk about a time warp, which takes you to another dimension. Warn is where you are telling someone to be careful, beware, there's something dangerous ahead. There is another warn too, but that's spelt with an O, and that's to show that these words mean different things. We've spelt them differently. So this warn means when you have worn your uniform to school. So it comes from the word wear. Cove is a nice little safe place in the water where you might have land around it and the water in there is nice and calm. So it's a nice little cosy cove. A stone is like a rock. Stole means, could mean that you've stolen something, like a robber might steal, so we say past tense would be stole. And it can also mean like a scarf or a wrap that a lady would wear over her shoulders to keep her warm, especially if she was going out to a dance or somewhere very special. A stove is something that we cook on. Now a spoke could be 2 things. It could be these little wires that go out on a tyre to help the bike tyre keep its shape. And it could also be when you speak to someone, the past tense of speak, we don't say he speak to me, we say he spoke to me. So it's an irregular verb there. Just like stole is an irregular verb too. We don't say he stealed that from me, we'd say he stole. So just be careful of those two. Could be a noun, could be a verb. Could be a noun, could be a verb. Now let's read the words, sound the words, spell the words and write them 3 times. Just get your little bit of paper to cover the word while you're writing it. So we've got war, whoop, or, W-A-R, W-A-R, W-A-R. Cover it and write it 3 times. And don't forget to check along the way to make sure you've spelt it correctly. Let's do one of these long O sounds as well. C-ove, 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 C-O-V-E, C-O-V-E, C-O-V-E. cover it, and write it 3 times. You can finish the rest of those. This is level J, list 2, and we're doing the day 2. And our words are w or war, w or warm, w or t, wart, w or warp, w or worn, k ove, cove, st own, stone, st ol, stole, st ove, stove, sp oak, spoke. So we've highlighted for you the AR that's making the OR sound in these words. So it only makes its OR sound after a W, a WH, or a QU. So here we're just using it with the W. There aren't many words where we have a WH before a AR for the OR sound, but one of them will be a wharf, and that's where boats pull in to unload and load up their cargoes or put passengers on and off. And probably the most common one you'd know that follows a QU would be quarter, where we're using the AR in all of these words for the OR sound. Now, the other thing that you have to look at down here is that we're using the E at the end of these words to make the previous vowel make its long sound O. So that's a revision one. Now you also know that if you have a long vowel sound, short word, long vowel, you're only going to have one L, and we're going to use a K after a long vowel sound too. So that's a little bit of extra revision that we've snuck in there for you. So what do these words mean? War means when you fight with weapons. Warm means that something's not cold and it's not really hot, it's in between. A wart is a growth on your skin. Warp means something is bent. Warn means to tell someone of danger. A cove is like a little bay. In the ocean it's usually quite calm in a cove. A stone is like a rock. Stole, it could be where you've taken something without asking, and it could also mean like a scarf or something that a lady will wear across her shoulders around her neck to keep herself warm. A stove is something we cook on, and a spoke could be when you speak to someone, like I spoke to you yesterday, or I spoke to my friend yesterday, and it can also be a part of a bike, a wheel on a bike where you have the spokes going out to help it keep its round shape. So you have to fill in these missing gaps here with the correct letters, and then you've got to write the words next to the meaning. So you've got used to cook, taken without asking. Most of those are quite easy for you to read. Just got to write the word in there. Down the bottom you have to fill in the missing list word. There was a large something inside the peach. So there's the number of letters in the word there, so you can that might help you work out which word up here to put in. And you can read and do the next one on your own. This says, join the words to make compound words and rewrite. Compound words are word pairs that we use a lot together, to the point that rather than being 2 single words that we use separately, over time we've joined them together to make one word. So you'd have perhaps grave, stone, war, paint, outspoken. So you can write those words down here when you've made them. Now let's go back and read the words, sound the words, spell the words, cover them and write them. So we're going war, or, W-A-R, cover it and write it. And remember, if you make a mistake, check to see if it's correct. If it's wrong, rub it out and start again. You can finish that page off on your own. This is level J, list 2, and we're doing the day 3. And our words are war, warm, wart, warp, worn, cove, stone, stole, stove, spoke. So you can see in these words we're using the AR, and we know the rule is that after a W, a WH or a QU, we may use the R AR for the or sound after those letters. So that's why we're using the AR as the or sound after all these words starting with W. Now in the next line we've got the E making the previous vowel long. So this is a revision list, nice easy one for you to do with this more difficult one. And we've got some past tense irregular verbs. So stole could, if it's used as a verb, it would come from the word steal. So you wouldn't say he stealed my money, you would say he stole my money. So because it doesn't follow the usual pattern of adding ed to the end of a base word, we say it's irregular. It's unusual, so it's an irregular verb. The same with spoke. If it's used as a verb, it comes from the word speak. So he will speak to me, he speaks to me every day, he is speaking to me. You wouldn't say he spoke to me yesterday, you'd say he spoke to me if it's in the past tense. So these two last ones down here, be careful because they are irregular past tense of the base word. I don't think there's any other tricky things in there. So you'll find down here in the plurals, these words are all nouns. So if we have more than one of them, we're adding the S. They're fairly easy words, they're all regular plural nouns, so it means that you just have to add the S. There's no tricks in there. You're also getting a little bit of the different meanings coming through. So you could have as a verb spoke. If you speak to someone the day before, you say spoke. You've also got the word as a noun down here where we've got the umbrella has spokes all the way around it. And you've also got spokes on a bike coming through here. So you're seeing the word in its various usages on this page. Here the comparatives and the superlatives are where we want to say today was more warm than yesterday. So when we compare two things, we want to mean more, we add ER to the base word. And when it's more than two things, it's a super group, we want to say the most, when it's the most of something. So we might say, it was warm today, tomorrow will be warmer, but last week it was the warmest day we've had for a while. So you're adding the EST to mean the most of these words. Sometimes you have to use more or most, but most of the time you just add ER or EST to the word. And it would sound silly if we said more warm or the most warm. We would always add the or the EST if we can. Down the very bottom, you have to look at filling in the gap with the correct word. Now, war and war here are spelt differently. They mean different things, but they sound the same. So this war is when you wear your uniform to school. You might say, I wore my uniform to school yesterday. This war is when you fight with someone. So worn is when you've already worn something or had it on. And this warn is to tell someone to be careful. We're warning them about something. So remember, we are allowed to use AR for the or sound if the letter before the or sound is a W, a WH or a QU, as in war, wharf and quarter. So let's get our pencils out and our little bit of paper, and we're going to read, sound, spell, write and check these words. So we've got war, or, W-A-R, cover it and write it and then check it. Now it's very important that you sound the words, because that means that you're listening for every sound in that word that you're going to have to write. Then you have to search your brain for the letters that match that sound in the word, and that's why we spell the words out loud to help our brain to remember. And then by writing them, we're really making sure that our brain's going to remember how to spell that particular word. Here you're going C-O-V, C-O-V-E, and you're covering and writing them. Okay, you can finish that page. J, list 2, and we're doing the day 4, and we're looking at saying verbs today. So we're looking at words that you can use instead of said. So if you were writing a story and you kept using the word said all the way through, then it wouldn't make your story all that interesting. So to make your story more interesting for the reader, rather than using the same word all the time, you could use some of these other words that we're going to talk about today. So let's have a look at some of them. We've got demanded, muttered, replied, asked, whispered, mumbled, sighed, yelled, grumbled, begged, stated, argued, growled, screamed, cried, wondered, pleaded, whined. So have a go at reading those all on your own once we've been through this sheet. So it says here, the ghost is saying, said is dead, there are better words to use than said. So down here we've got a passage for you to read, and we want you to circle the saying verbs in the passage. So however it's indicated the person's been speaking, then we want you to highlight that word. So let's see how we go. I don't see why we have to go visit Uncle Ray. Meg grumbled. Okay, so let's highlight the grumbled. Rather than saying said, Meg said, we've used grumbled. He lives so far away and he's so boring, she whined. That's another one. He's only boring because he's shy, Louise replied to her daughter. So replied would be another one. So you can go through and highlight the saying verbs in that passage. Now down the bottom it says fill in the gaps with the saying verb. So the words are demanded, whispered, begged, screamed, muttered. So you can tell what the person's saying from what the person's saying as to which word would fit in to each spot. Don't let anyone hear you, Ron whispered, I would imagine. So you just got to write the word whispered in there. Please let me have a cookie before dinner, Ted begged. So you can hear from what they're saying, you can indicate what the saying verb has to be. You can finish that on your own.